So I'm a little late again with my update. That's because I've had a visitor for last week, and yeah, I've been a bit preoccupied. So it's made my plan and what I do day to day a little bit more tricky, having a visitor, but also wanting to entertain that visitor. The visitor being my son, um, and but it's been pretty good. We've still been eating healthily, and I've maintained that. The main impact has been on um, doing as much activities as I want us to do, which is also still that injury lingering that I've been going on about for the last few weeks. We did go and do some climbing because my son's really into climbing. Um, so, but not loads. And I haven't done much table tennis, no golf at all, um, and little um, little movement really, actively. Little walking either, in terms of like less active movement. So on the fitness side, it's been a bit of a challenge, but I guess my body's actually used that week to um, to have a little bit of recovery as well. So that's not a bad thing. Um, it probably is useful to have a bit of a recap on what the hell I'm actually doing. I'm actually trying to do a couple of things. My goals are really um, to be healthier as the main drive, um, and that's a combination of diet and movement, and learning, I guess, in terms of learning what is good for me and what's not. Um, then on top of health, there is fitness. I want to get stronger, and that obviously feeds in and helps the health anyway, because I've learned, it's really probably not controversial, but I've learned that strength is probably the biggest thing you can do if you talk about things like strength, endurance, flexibility, mobility, nutrition, all of those different things. Then strength is probably the biggest one in terms of contributing to health. Um, so getting strong. Um, I think I read somewhere something as simple as grip strength is a really good indicator of overall health. If someone's got really good grip strength, they tend to be very healthy. Um, so there's the fitness side, and what I'm basically doing there is trying to do at least two activities. Ideally, two activities per day. That's the ideal. Sorry, at least one, but ideally two activities per day, every weekday, 5 days a week, with the weekend to recover, which get my heart rate up. Doesn't have to be anything um, huge. It's actually quite easy to get your heart rate up. Just start running around or start moving around with some vigor. So any kind of sport will do that. Um, Behind that, I've got trying to achieve a certain number of steps because walking, just walking is really good for you. It keeps the body moving. Um, and in general, if you keep the body moving, it keeps things working in your body. Then there's diet. So internally, the diet helps. There's a lot of foods that we eat which are silent killers. Really, they're not particularly bad in and of themselves. But if you eat them regularly, foods with lots of sugar, lots of trans fats, or few nutrients, then you're not really doing your body any favors long term. So I've tried to really shake up my diet, and have a more diversity of whole foods, which is good for the microbiome. And the approach is just to try and eat really healthily. So pretty much every calorie I put in my body, um, I want it to do something for me, ideally. Um, then there's also within that, cutting down on sugar is good in terms of, obviously, ultimately, if I kept eating sugar the way I used to, then I'm heading for diabetes later in life. But things like tooth decay and cutting down on sugar is generally a good thing. Sugar combined with fat is a really bad thing. Sugar on its by itself isn't terrible, but cutting down on sugar is not a bad thing. Um, then there's getting better sleep, which helps immensely for your health. Can't be underestimated how much sleep is important. And then I'm tracking things like blood pressure and heart rate. So that's my overall plan. Just a recap on that. And then to have a look at last week, how that's been. As I said, it's been a bit of a challenge, to do everything I've normally been trying to do. Um, but the steps are going to be a bit lower probably this week, this last week. My weight is still pretty low. My weight's pretty good. The fat percent, which is one of the key things that I'm trying to track and keep down, is still staying low, which is good. Vascular age is still a pig. It's just still stubbornly not coming down, but it's also not kind of hovering higher than it started to go higher again last week, back up to 54, I think, on one of the days. It's stuck at 53 for the last 3 days. So I'd like to see that come down, but I'm just going to continue to be patient with that. And I think a combination of moving a lot, keeping my heart rate down, and plenty of exercise and eating plenty of fiber and good foods is going to help. Having said that, next week I'm actually traveling back to the UK, so I'm going to be spending a lot of time driving and not moving much, unfortunately. So I'm preparing myself that that's not going to move for a few weeks. But once I get back to the UK, I will be continuing this plan. Like I said last week, the good news is a lot of this is starting to feel normal for me. So that's really what I was looking for. The main goal for me is actually to try and develop sustainable habits and to try and look after myself. So that's well on track.